Okay.
Okay.
Emily, you can take it away, Emily.
Okay.
Okay.
And can you guys hear me okay? Do I need to speak up any louder?
Nope,
No, I can hear you.
Yep, I can hear you too.
Sounds good. Okay. So this is my presentation on my PPE experience. And my name is Emily Bailey. My maiden name's Smith, so just in case my name comes up as Smith in any of my slides and things like that. So my presentation is going to be on my professional practice experience, my PPE. The purpose of this presentation is to review my time that I spent on my PPE, along with explaining the project that I worked on and the steps that I took to develop it, and my thought processes through those steps. And then along with sharing my overall learning and experience at my PPE experience. So here I have my agenda for my presentation. I will go over my PPE site and the details about the organization, the PPE department within the HIM department and the people I met with and things I went over, my PPE team, people within that department, the project that I worked on, the challenges that I had during the experience, and my lessons learned, along with an overall conclusion and the references I used during my project and my presentation. So I had my PPE experience at St. Mary's Hospital, also known as the initials of SSM, Sister St. Mary's. It's located on 700 South Park Street in Madison, Wisconsin. It was pretty convenient for me because I live right in Madison. So, and St. Mary's is one of the large hospitals within Madison. There's a total of 3 really big hospitals within Madison, and St. Mary's is one of them. One of the other ones is Meriter, which is literally 2 blocks down from the St. Mary's Hospital. So I thought that was kind of interesting. St. Mary's, a little bit about St. Mary's. St. Mary's is a 440-bed not-for-profit hospital that serves 18 surrounding south central Wisconsin counties. It's part of the SSM healthcare system, which is based out of St. Louis. So SSM is all over the place. It's a fairly large healthcare organization. And the SSM in Madison has 2 sister hospitals. One is the St. Clair Hospital, which is in Baraboo, Wisconsin, and the other one is St. Mary's Janesville Hospital. So those 3 hospitals work really closely together. They actually share some of their workflows and workloads. So if one of the hospitals is behind in some of their work queues or things like that, the other ones, the other departments from the other hospitals can jump in and help them with a lot of that. They transfer patients within each other quite frequently, so they work really closely together. So I found that really interesting. St. Mary's in Madison and all of St. Mary's was in the Wisconsin partners were recognized at the excellence level by the Wisconsin Forward Award in 2013. And SSM currently is going under a large project for its electronic health record. It is working on combining all of the St. Mary's hospitals nationwide that they have and getting them all on the same Epic platform for standardization. And so that's been a huge project that is taking a lot of resources and time and work from all of the St. Mary's hospitals. So that was a large thing that was going on during my PPE experience that I kind of got to see some glimpses into the workflows and efforts that were going into that big project. So then there was my PPE department. So I was in the HIM department within St. Mary's Madison, and their HIM department consists of 42 staff. There are release of information staff. They have coders, which consist of inpatient and outpatient. They then have coding leads over each area within the coding section. They then have analyst staff and health information associates, which they refer to as HIA, which is the staff who do a lot of the scanning and indexing of the paper documents. They then have operation leads, which are mainly over that HIA area. They have a coding educator, a supervisor, and a director. So in this slide, I have a organizational chart for the department. And this, I wanted to note that this organizational chart actually changed quite drastically while I was at my PPE, which made things kind of interesting. They went through a large layoff while I was in the middle of my PPE experience. So they, when I started my PPE experience, they had another supervisor where all of these staff and the leads reported to the supervisor, and then that supervisor then reported to the director. After the layoffs and kind of the reorganization of the department, they eliminated that supervisor position and changed it so all of the staff and the leads then reported directly to the director. So that was kind of interesting to see and hear and kind of understand their background behind everything that was going on with that. So a little bit about the leadership in this department. The leadership is very relaxed, and there's a lot of trust that was put into the staff. The leads check in and monitor the staff's productivity throughout the day, and they'll jump in and help out with any of the regular daily tasks. They're kind of there for support and backup for the frontline staff. The productivity of the staff is monitored by the coding staff, or monitored by the coding staff. They monitor their work throughout the days and manually track their times, how many charts they code and things they get done throughout the days. Sorry, if you don't mind, can I pause for a second? My dogs are being disruptful. You two, come on. Get up. Go. I'm super sorry about that. So the coding staff keep track of what they do on a regular basis and turn that into the director at the end of each week. And they but there's no productivity standards for the operations side or the analysts, so they're only kind of keeping track of coding. They also have a shared leadership program where they have staff take on leadership tasks to kind of gain experience. So they do a lot of the leading meetings and helping out with some of the leadership tasks that they can do on a regular basis. For the work design and process improvements of the department, the workflows and policies are created by the staff, and they have the staff review the policies and approve the policies. So on a regular basis, they have meetings that they go over all the policies, and staff are assigned certain policies that they need to review and bring any updates to the meetings, and the rest of the staff approve them. So overall, the staff work as a great team together, and they really hold each other accountable for things and completing their work, and they have to communicate well to be able to accomplish that. They have weekly huddles and to meet and go over updates and how things are going and workflows, and just if there's any backlogs or if anybody needs help with things like that. So they work pretty closely together in that department. Some other areas that I sat with when I was at my PPE that worked really closely with the HIM department were the compliance department, legal, medical staffing, quality, data integrity, CDI, HR, and informatics. Those were some of the key players in the HIM department's daily workflows that I got to sit with. So then for my PPE team, I had a couple main people that I had worked with that really made an impact on my PPE experience. They're my two kind of mentors of the PPE. My first one was Trudy Smithback. She's an RHIA, and she was my initial mentor who made my schedule and I worked with most. She's a supervisor of the cancer registry and transcription. She's also responsible for, she's responsible for the cancer registry program and to the outsourced transcription system. She manages the workflows and the policies in the areas around these systems. What I found interesting, which I kind of talked to before, was that she doesn't actually have anybody reporting directly to her. She is a supervisor of these two areas, but doesn't have any direct report staff, which I thought was pretty interesting. So one of the questions in the PPE our manual was if I'd be interested in one of these roles. And I think I would definitely need to know, I got a good overview of what she does, but I think with something like this, I really would prefer direct reports in a supervisor role. So I'm not sure if I would like it or not. So that was something that I kind of kept in the back of my mind. But the other person that I spent a lot of time with was Lynn Olson. She's an RHIA, and she's the director of the department. Lynn oversees the entire HIM department, and all the staff report to her. So she has many direct reports, and she's involved in absolutely everything with the HIM department. So just the whole setup of how their department is and who reports to who, I find very interesting. But her role would definitely be a role that I would be super interested in, because I'm currently an HIM manager, and my kind of next step and whole reason of going back to school to finish my bachelor's was to hopefully one day get more of a director role. So next was my PPE project, and my project was creating a scanning productivity project. I was supposed to develop a productivity program with productivity standards for the HIA scanning staff. They have productivity standards for coding, but not the other areas. So that was my task that I had for my project. So some of the steps I kind of took for developing that, I first really needed to decide what data I needed to collect and how to collect it. So I determined that after doing a little bit of analysis, that I needed 4 different areas of data that I'd need to collect to be able to kind of put something together. So I worked with one of the employees who could run reports for me, who had access to all the systems and things like that. So one of the reports I had them pull was a time card report. They have a system called My Time that they can pull. They pull these reports anyways and use them for other things. So they pulled that data for me that I could put into a spreadsheet to get the total number of hours an employee works each day. And then I had reports pulled for their overall scanning the total amounts of scanning that they do each day. So they use a system called OnBase, and they have reports that they can run out of that system that tells for each user how many pages were scanned and how many documents were scanned and things like that per day. And then I created a spreadsheet of all the employees to like kind of map to their usernames and names that pull into the other reports. So I created a spreadsheet for all the employees that I could connect the data for that. And then they have a schedule that they use for daily tasks of what they're being assigned to, if it's scanning or if they have something else that they're, what area of scanning that they're doing. So I used that. So I ended up with a couple different spreadsheets that I have listed here. The productivity standards is what I named the one for the reports coming out of OnBase. I have clocking data for the time cards, a lookup table for the employee information, and a schedule of tasks for their schedules. So once I was done kind of pulling everything together, this is kind of what it looked like. I then needed to format it and connect it. So I used a system called Power Pivot, which is in Excel. It's a system that I use quite often at work myself, so I was a little bit familiar with it. But I could then put all the spreadsheets and connect them through this Power Pivot. So I could create pivot tables and things off of that. I connected one area from each spreadsheet, so they would all kind of be connected and have a way to flow for the data. My next step was to develop a table to show the data in a useful way. So like I said, I then created a pivot table that could show all that information in one glance. So these were just kind of the filters that I used to kind of put that together. Then once I kind of had it, this was a rough start of what my data looked like. And I needed to really edit it and enhance it and kind of dig into it a little bit more. But so I changed my headers of my tables and moved things around, changed some of the formatting and things like that, so they were pulling in correctly. I found there were some extra things that didn't need to be in there, or I found a few things that needed to be added. So once I had it kind of set together, I could, where it was easier to view and kind of compare, I could analyze the data more. So I put it kind of in a graph in here like this, in this screenshot, that could make it easy for me to compare month to month and totals compared to totals and kind of see it visually. And then I needed to make sure that what I was looking at was actually correct. So what I did was I kind of compared, I had one of the employees manually track for a day all of the documents that they scanned and all the pages that they scanned, and they just kind of tallied things up throughout the day of what they did, and then they let me know how many hours they worked. And I put together kind of the calculations to come up with what that average would have been. And then I compared it to what my graph was showing me, what their average was for the day, and those two numbers lined up. So I felt more confident that my numbers were more accurate and not completely way off. So then I needed to review the data and collection process to make sure if there was anything that I missed. I tweaked a few more things at that point. But then I needed to develop a standard. So I did some research and some analysis on the data to develop a standard. I compared some overall averages of the employees, and then I searched online for overall national standards like HEMA standards, and I found some other hospitals online that had some policies of productivity about scanning and things like that. So I used those as some comparisons. So then I analyzed the data again and just assured that the standards that I came up with were reasonable. So I put in this chart here and I added my goal lines. In this screenshot, you can see there's a red line and a purple line, and those are the goals that are standards that I set. So I put it in this graph to see if there were if people were actually meeting those standards, and it was I found that 84% of the staff were meeting the standards that I set. So then I set up a meeting with leadership to review it. They gave me some feedback. I made some changes according to their feedback, and then I met with them again to represent it. And my overall results were as shown. I had some slicers that I could go by the individual employees, and I could kind of narrow down their specifics in what their productivity for each day and kind of break it down by days and months and things like that. So these are the references I used for that. The HEMA standards and some other policies as standards that I used for finding those averages. And then overall, some of my challenges with the PPE experience, just in general, it wasn't anything huge, but there was constant schedule changes, which definitely occur. But somebody would call in sick and I was supposed to meet or spend my day shadowing them, or something came up. There was a lot of things going on with the layoffs and things like that. So last minute meetings and things like that. So things got changed. But so because things were changing, it made it a little bit more difficult for me to make sure that I met with all the people that I needed to meet with. But we worked through it and everything was fine. So lessons learned overall, coming from working in an HIM department myself and viewing another HIM department, I found it awesome that there are a lot of similarities in the workflows and processes. And then I also really found it very interesting about how the different ways management can approach, staff, and the differences it can make on morale and attitudes, and just allowing what's expected and expectations out of the staff. But overall, my experience was really great. I learned a lot. I have some great references for in the future, and it really helped me see that there's different ways to do something and have the same goal, and there's many different ways to manage a team. And this last slide is my references. I use the St. Mary's website, and then also the two other areas that I used for my productivity standards. And that's it.
Great. That was quite a project, Emily.
It was. Once I kind of put things together,
Yeah.
It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. I hope they were pleased. Did you get good feedback from them?
I did.
Good.
I was lucky that I used Power Pivot before, so
Right.
having that experience really helped me, and they have it. So they were going to have to kind of learn some of those that function a little bit to be able to really use that. So, but.
Good. I was kind of curious about Lynn. Does she oversee I know you said they kind of like, there's SSM and then there's the two other facilities. Does Lynn oversee the HIM staff at those other facilities?
No, I think they have their own.
Okay.
Their own management and things like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know that it was very odd about like if they did help out at the two other facilities, then they had to bill them for it
Right.
and
Right.
things like that. So it was separate in those ways.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't know if I have any other questions. Do you have anything, Madeline?
I do not. I was going to ask about the director. If she, because like where I was, the director oversaw all of the hospitals.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was the question that you stole my question.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just curious how that worked. So that's interesting. So maybe it's more of affiliation or some kind of other
Yeah.
agreement with them.
Yeah, it might be. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, Emily, I'll make you. I'll take away your co-hosting abilities and give it to Madeline.
Good.
Okay. Okay. All right. So at the bottom, you should see the share screen icon.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay. Do I just open up it gave me, select a window? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have two monitors?
I found it.
Great, great.
Okay. Let's open this puppy.
And it looks like Lindsay is not going to join us. I've been checking my email and I don't see anything. So unfortunately, it's just the two of you tonight, and I'll have to probably add her on to one of the other nights. So I guess you guys get the gift of time tonight.
Sounds good. I got a lot of unpacking to do.
All right, Madeline, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, so, and don't mind my voice, I've been sick, so if I fade out. So this presentation is about my professional practice experience, and my name is Madeline Manapella. So on our agenda today, we're gonna go over my professional practice experience site, the overview of the department, the exploration component that I had, the professional practice experience project that I did, the challenges and lessons that I learned, and the overall conclusion. So I did my PPE with Aurora Healthcare back in November. I was in the Park Place business office at 7800 North 113th Street. That was my main facility, but I also did travel to the other hospitals. And my mentor was Kim Felmeth. She's the director of HIM for Aurora. So Aurora has 15 hospitals within the Aurora healthcare system. There's more than 150 clinics, 70 pharmacies, and there's over 33,000 caregivers and 1,800 employed physicians. And they have the largest home care organization in Wisconsin. So like I said, my main PPE location was the Park Place business office, but I also did some shadowing at Aurora St. Luke's, Aurora West Dallas, Aurora at Home, and Aurora St. Luke's South Shore. It's a little tiny, but here's the org chart. Kim Felmeth is up at the top. She has a lot of direct managers that report to her, including our own Tina Douglas. And then each manager also has a staff. It's a very large system, many different people. And the director actually took over in February of last year. So she was fairly new to this organization when I was shadowing her. Okay, so I'm gonna go through my Aurora healthcare exploration component. I did my exploration component with Aurora at Home. This facility works with patients that need home care and hospice services. I was shadowing Heather Lohr. She's an RHIA. She's the supervisor of health information management there. And she oversees the Aurora at Home operations and the medical records department. She actually had interviewed for her current position a few years ago and didn't get it. She worked for another hospital, I think she said Wheaton, for about 5 or 6 years. And then when Kim took over, she remembered her and called her back, and now she's in her current position. Doing this exploration component, I don't know if I could be in her shoes. I'm very soft and I don't think I would be able to handle hospice patients. It sounds kind of silly, but just my own personal, like hearing some of her stories, I don't have the backbone for that. My PPE project was oh wait, let me see if I can move this because I can't read my whole screen. My PPE project was the historical log. It was very daunting at first when I was informed of what my PPE project was going to be. So the goal was to update the current historical log for the entire Aurora healthcare system. So this is all of their medical records, where they're located, if we're in compliance with the retention schedule. Aurora started out as one hospital and they just kept merging. So some of the records went back as far as 1896, but because back then they were permanent records, we had to stay in compliance with that. So even though it might be a regular medical record that they keep now for 25 years, it was permanent back then, so now it has to be permanent. So I had to obtain the information from all the hospital managers and the clinic supervisors about the medical record locations. And I had to get information on any issues. That was also part of the historical log. If they had any breaches or transcription errors and things along that line, we had to note that in the log as well. I had to go through the log and make sure that all the records that could be or have been destroyed in accordance to retention schedule, that they're all labeled on there that they have been destroyed. So my log plan. So my step one was to gather all the historical grids and logs from all the HIM managers and supervisors. Every supervisor and manager was responsible for maintaining their own log and ensuring that it's accurate. I had to format the new log. They had a prior PPE intern actually start the log a few years ago, and it was never completed. So I was given part of a log and a couple of grids from people and like, oh, here, you can make our list. I had to review all of the logs and grids and mark off that everything that should be destroyed or can be destroyed was actually destroyed. I had to call all the HIM leadership to see if documents that are eligible for destruction have been destroyed to their knowledge. I also had to make sure that if they had things on there on site, that they went in and checked and made sure that their records weren't there or were there, whatever the case was. And then I had to have leadership destroy records according to the destruction date. And I had to make a separate log for any registries. Birth registry, death registry, cancer registry. All of those went into a separate log. So on the last day of my PPE, I was able to attend the HIM meeting with all of the HIM staff for all of Aurora, and I was able to present my project to them. So at the end, everybody was very impressed that it was completed. Anybody that I talked to prior to the final day would just look at me and go, wow, good luck. And that was that was a little scary for me in the beginning. All of the HIM staff was grateful that it was reformatted and everything was clear. I went through the whole document, and anything that needed to be destroyed, I highlighted in red, and anything that was destroyed, I highlighted in yellow, and anything that was destroyed was highlighted in red. And then anything that could have been destroyed was also marked. There were managers that came up to me after the presentation and thanked me. And for myself, I was very impressed with, completing it. And I had a lot of self-doubt during it. I have worked in a hospital, not currently. And I always, I felt like since I don't have as much HIM experience that I really didn't know what I was doing. But it did boost my confidence level to have everybody so impressed with the formatting and how everything came out with the project. So again, the biggest challenge that I know Emily faced also was trying to complete my project while trying to attend meetings, meeting with my mentor and interviews with everybody else to do the yellow packet. I'm sure other people had this. I just felt like I didn't have enough time in my home location. I think I had maybe 3 full days with my PPE mentor, and all the other days I was kind of shipped to different locations. So I was meeting with the people to answer my questions and to do interviews with, but I wasn't, because I was interviewing with them and shadowing, doing scanning, and I did a data integrity time, what are they called? Time study. There we go. I just felt like I didn't have enough time to just sit and focus on my project. There were a few nights where I would take everything home with me and do it, which was fine, but it got done. So lessons I learned, I was very interested going into this about how a large hospital organization worked. I worked at a small community hospital when I lived in New York, and it was nothing like Aurora. I mean, when I worked at the hospital in New York, I was the only one that did release of information. And here they have an entire department. They have their own department, and then they also have some of the hospitals and clinics that are up north. They actually outsource their ROI. I also learned that I should trust myself and my decision making. Like I said, I did doubt myself a lot, and I do it often. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but with my mentor reassuring me and all of the managers and supervisors, coming up to me and giving me that confidence boost, it really helped. And let me see, I do have another one. So I had a great experience with my internship with Aurora. Kim and all the other managers I met with, they gave me a lot of information, made me feel comfortable. My project was definitely daunting, but I got through it with much success, and I learned a lot about Aurora's organization. And I actually just accepted a position in the Park Place Release of Information department. So it worked. I had definitely a lot of references, a lot of people pulling for me. Tina is actually going to be my boss, which is fun, especially working with her every week on the slideshow, the slides for the whatever we're doing. What are we doing? The RHIA exam prep. So this was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it.
Good.
That was the last one.
That is such great news. I'm so happy for you.
I'm very excited.
Good.
I start on the 5th.
You do? Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So are you going to be actually processing ROI requests, or will you be supervising, or?
This is just for processing the ROI.
Okay.
Because I don't have an RHIT either.
Right.
So I can't really do supervisory or manager yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure it's a good jump off.
Yeah.
Get my feet wet, get in there.
Definitely.
And then go from there.
Definitely. Yeah. What a great way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
At Aurora. So, and I know right now you're working some evenings and things. Will your hours be a little bit more during the day, or?
Yes, I will be 8:30 to 4:30 as opposed to 9 to 7, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Good deal. Gosh, I was trying to think if I had any questions for you. I'm glad Kim was a good mentor to you. I was listening to Tina's presentation on Tuesday night, and it sounded like she didn't really have a mentor that spent as much time with her and maybe didn't have a structured schedule.
Yeah, she really didn't. Me and her actually did a lot of our yellow packet together.
Okay.
So we attended a lot of meetings together.
Okay.
I don't know, anytime that I was there, she was with me.
Okay.
So I don't really know when she met with her mentor. But I also know that she did like a longer, like mine was 2 weeks, and I know she did a longer one.
Yeah, yep, she spread it out. So, well, I think you did a great job with the project. It does sound pretty daunting, and that it probably took you more than 20 hours, I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
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 Than the guideline that we had given them, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot, especially because it was 15 hospitals of information dating back to as far as 1896.
Yeah.
And then all 150 clinics.
Right.
So it was a lot of information. And when I received the document that the prior person started, I had a title slide, a table of contents, and I think 2 hospitals.
Oh my goodness.
So, and I think it was from like 2012 or something like that. So it's like, okay, so now we have another 6 years worth of 5 years worth of information and a lot more hospitals.
Oh, wow. Well, good job. I'm glad you were able to finish it. It's always nice when our students can see something through to conclusion and stuff. So good job, Madeline.
Yeah.
Emily, did you have any questions?
I was going to ask, did you say how many people they have in their HIM department?
In their HIM department, let me try to find my thing. So this is the entire HIM department. But this is just leadership. This isn't including like every person in the like everyone in the ROI department, everybody in scanning. So it's a pretty big department. I don't think they actually told me how many people in each department.
Okay.
I might have it written down somewhere if I go through my notes, but I don't think they actually gave me an entire number.
Okay. So is it one HIM department that takes care of all 15 hospitals, I'm guessing?
Each hospital has their own HIM department. There's one director, and then each hospital has their own department. There's one ROI facility. If you go into a hospital and say you need a record, they can give it to you, but they're not a specific ROI facility. And then, like I said, the ones up north, they have an actual outsource. They have it outsourced.
Okay.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's huge.
It is.
It's gigantic. The hospital that I came from in New York was like 100 beds, if that. It might have even been less than that. And it was in like a small, on Long Island, like way out east in the Hamptons, where like people just vacationed. So in the summertime, the amount of charts would be a lot higher than, during the rest of the year. But it's a very small hospital. They just, before I moved, they merged with a larger hospital organization, but I don't think that increased the amount of patients.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you able to meet with Kathy Patak at all?
I did not. We did, me and Tina actually did it like a phone. We talked to her on the phone.
Okay.
When we met with one of the other departments for that packet.
Okay.
They pulled her up on the phone, but we weren't actually able to meet with her.
Okay. I was just curious. Actually my first year at St. Scholastica, we took the on-campus students on a field trip to Aurora, and Kathy Patak was in Kim's position at that time and gave us a tour and walked us around and stuff. So I was glad to see she was promoted, and I was hoping you get to meet with her. So
yeah, I was too. Actually, my fiance's mom graduated in December.
Yep.
Not December 17, December 16, and I went to her graduation and I met with Danica.
Yeah.
And Danica actually, because I was telling her how I had my PPE and everything, she actually gave me Kathy's contact information for the PPE.
Yeah.
So when I actually got in with Aurora, I emailed Danica. I was like, "Thank you for the contact."
And I hope it doesn't get too weird for you and Tina, like working together, and now she's going to be your boss.
Yeah. No, it was. We had a good time, and we worked well together.
Good.
So it's gonna be good. Yeah. There's a manager above me. Her name's also Kim, and then Tina is in charge of the ROI department.
Okay. All right. Good.
So technically, that other Kim is my boss, but
Okay.
Tina's the big boss.
Oh, well, I'm so glad both of you, it sounds like you had both, really great PPEs, and I'm so happy to hear that. And both really good projects too. Some students don't get as lucky as you, so great job tonight, ladies, and we'll let you go, okay? Well, before I let you go, maybe I'll say this. Because Lindsay didn't show, please just do one eval on each other, and we'll just go from there. And because I don't want you to have to attend another evening, it's just you guys are busy, and I don't want to put that on you. So please just evaluate each other and submit that, and then I'll just give you full credit for that. Okay.
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 Sounds good.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.